Square Enix just announced that Final Fantasy XV will have a mobile version called the Pocket Edition that'll feature a more cartoony graphical style, which is understandable since mobile games are shitty anyway, but there's rumors that this shitty version of Final Fantasy XV is coming to the Switch. If this is true, then that's gonna be bad news for everybody. Why? Stay tuned and I'll tell you, you turkey. Okay, so as far as the Switch getting a lesser version of Final Fantasy XV goes, I don't think it's necessarily the worst idea ever. Hear me out though. If the Switch can't run the full game due to graphical limitations, then changing the game's appearance to a cel-shaded style might not be a bad idea in theory. If the gameplay's exactly the same, then I'm not completely against it. But if the Switch gets a version that looks half as bad as this, then the Switch's image is gonna be damaged big time. If the game's bad, you don't have to buy it, that's true. But if the Switch gets a half-assed attempt at a third-party game, then it obviously won't sell well. And when it inevitably doesn't sell very well, then Square Enix might stop support for the Switch altogether, which would mean no Super Mario RPG 2. Third-party games for the Wii more often than not didn't sell very well, and while some of them were solid games, a lot of them were watered-down versions of PS3 and Xbox 360 games. There's a place in the world for mobile games, but what works on your cell phone while you're leaving a dump wouldn't necessarily work on the Switch. It's as if Square Enix just looked at the Switch and thought, hey, this falls into the demographic where people can play games while they poop. Let's port the Pocket Edition over. Again though, it's just a rumor, and we don't even know if the Pocket Edition's even coming to the Switch. A cel-shaded version of Final Fantasy XV being ported over could be a good thing as long as literally everything else about the gameplay remains intact. After all, graphics are the least important things about gaming, especially in 2017. And if cel shading's done right, then it could look better than realistic graphics. At the very least, it'd be better than nothing if the cel shading was the only difference. But if the rumors are true, and there's a very good possibility that they're not, then it looks like the Switch is getting the Pocket Edition, which is gonna be missing a hell of a lot of content. And if any third-party games would suffer that greatly from a Switch port, then I wouldn't even allow it if I were Nintendo. They still put their seal of quality on the games after all, so why even let your console be known as the one with the shitty versions of games? A few downgrades and sacrifices aren't that big a deal, with portability being a huge plus, and graphics are less important now than ever before, but games being ported over to the Switch should at least try to be as good as the original versions as possible. Portable gaming and mobile gaming are not and have never been the same thing. Putting something like Candy Crush on the Switch for like $1 might not be a bad idea, but if this Pocket-ass edition of Final Fantasy XV comes to the Switch, then we're probably looking at games with microtransactions next. I know some 3DS games have already tried this and failed, but let's keep those failures in the past. Maybe I'm jumping the gun on microtransactions being in Switch games, but bad multiplat Switch games is definitely a major concern. Because after this game fails, if it's coming to the Switch, some third parties, and specifically Square Enix, might be stupid and think that all third-party games would be destined to fail for the system. I'd like to think that nobody would be stupid enough to actually believe that, and hopefully if Final Fantasy XV is on the Switch, it'll have a hell of a lot more effort put into it than the mobile version, even if it had a few visual setbacks. And I can't even believe I had to say that, but if it's not even gonna be comparable to the PS4 and Xbox One versions, then literally nothing would be better than bullshit, and Square Enix shouldn't even waste their time and money as well as everybody else's. It'd be better for them to just hold off and make something original for the Switch from the ground up, or maybe even a spin-off sequel like Revenant Wings on the DS. I'd rather not even have spin-offs, but it wouldn't be nearly as bad as the Pocket Edition being on a home console, especially when we have a game like Xenoblade 2 on the same console. I do expect to see good third-party Switch games maybe next year or the year after, since I'm sure most third parties probably weren't sold on the system given Nintendo's recent track record. But with the Switch selling out the ass and no signs of slowing down anytime soon, it'd be stupid for third parties to not support the console, and I doubt anybody really thinks that shitty versions of games like the Pocket Edition would be a good idea. But for some reason, a few people are asking for it, and I'm just here to slap those individuals on the hand and say no. Bad consumer. Anyway, let me know in the comments what kind of third-party games you want to see on the Switch. Don't forget to like and share this video, and if you're new, then why not press that subscribe button? My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.